Y'all, thank you again. We're delighted to have Holly May signing, and Larissa Martin on standby, watching her sign. Chaplain Davidson, please.
Yes, sir. Let us pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, your word reminds us over and over again that you are always with us and that you will never leave us nor forsake us. We praise you for your presence during and after this storm. Lord, we ask for your wisdom for those who lead relief efforts in the wake of Hurricane Ian. Sustain those who work to rebuild their lives. Fill us with hope and remind us that you are our rock and redeemer. Let us remember what it says in Isaiah 54:10. Though the mountains be shaken and the hills be moved, yet my unfailing love for you will never be shaken, or my peace be removed. May you, Lord, receive the glory during this press conference today. In your holy and blessed name we pray. Amen.
Amen. John Q.
Good afternoon, John Claro, the National Weather Service. So Hurricane Ian made landfall yesterday just south of Georgetown, South Carolina at 2:05 p.m. with peak winds of 85 miles an hour. It is the first hurricane to make landfall in South Carolina since Matthew in 2016. Some of the highest observed peak wind gusts were 92 miles an hour at Chutes Folly in Charleston Harbor, 87 miles an hour at Winyah Bay, 85 miles an hour at Fort Sumter, 73 miles an hour at Folly Beach, 68 miles an hour at Charleston Airport, 61 miles an hour at Spring May Pier, 58 miles an hour at North Myrtle Beach, and 55 miles an hour at Georgetown. However, areas even well inland still experienced at least tropical storm force wind gusts. For example, at Lawrence, winds reached 56 miles an hour. McIntyre, Joint National Guard, 51 miles an hour. Shaw Air Force Base, 44 miles an hour. And in Chester, 43 miles an hour. So all of those strong winds brought down a significant amount of trees, even as far inland as the Midlands of South Carolina. A storm surge was significant along portions of Georgetown and Horry County coasts. The tide at Spring May Pier in Myrtle Beach reached its third highest value on record, only surpassed by Hurricanes Hugo in 1989 and Matthew in 2016. Storm surge inundation was 6.42 feet above ground level as measured at the Spring May Pier gauge, and will likely be higher southward into Georgetown County once water levels are surveyed. Rainfall was greatest near the coast, and some of the higher observed values were 5.63 inches at Charleston Airport, 4.81 inches at Monk's Corner, 4.38 inches at Georgetown, 4.2 inches at Darlington, and 3.55 inches at North Myrtle Beach. Fortunately, no significant river flooding is expected anywhere in the state. And for those focused on recovery efforts, the weather should cooperate over the next several days with no precipitation expected through Tuesday and high temperatures in the upper 60s and 70s. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Just a few points. We have a number of people here to answer questions, but I'd like to do some thank yous. We know that we have much cleaning up and rebuilding to do. Most of us have seen the pictures, particularly on the Grand Strand. We had a lot of water. The northwest corner of our state did not experience the storm very much at all, but the rest of us did. But we had no storm-related deaths. We had no hospitals damaged. All water systems were and are okay. We had only a few cellular problems. Most of the electricity has been restored, and I need to add in record pace. I don't think we've seen such organization in speedy service as we saw there. Insurance adjusters are here. The requirement for permits has been lifted so those from out of state can come help and speak to all of our people. So I want to thank two groups of people. The first is the 52 million South Carolinians who listen to the official advice, listen to the professionals, use their common sense, and this is including those who've never seen a hurricane. But as a result of that, we have had the wonderful response that I outlined above. solid advice of professionals, and for that we are very thankful for our people. Also, I want to thank the thousands of first responders, and that includes the utility linesmen that I mentioned, the county officials who've been working around the clock, city officials and mayors who've been doing the same thing, and we've been in contact with them throughout this, around the clock. The Red Cross, the law enforcement, police, the firemen, the highway patrol, the National Guardsmen. This is what we call Team South Carolina. And when you have people like this that are experienced and dedicated who work with the great people of our state, that's when we have good results like this. Now, as I say, there is damage, there's some heartbreak, there's work to be done, but all in all, it is a good story, another good story for South Carolina, and we're open for business. And in fact, emphasizing that, Carolina, USC and South Carolina State played a football game Thursday night, and Clemson's going to beat somebody tonight. So we're moving on. Also want to thank the Admiral and the Corps of Engineers who've been with us. The Admiral called, Homeland Security Director called. Of course, I spoke as well to the FEMA administrator, and we have a representative here today. And also want to thank the President for his interest. As you know, he called. With that, Congressman Joe Wilson.
Thank you very much, Governor. And fellow South Carolinians, what an honor to be here. And then I want to point out the Governor was too humble. Indeed, we have Team South Carolina. We have our municipal officials, the county officials, the first responders, the state agencies, but we have a good captain of the team with our Governor, Henry McMaster. And I'm so grateful for his service. And as I'm here today, I'm flashing back to prior hurricanes and how we've learned lessons. I was very fortunate to grow up in the holy city of Charleston, and I was right there on the Battery, September the 29th, 1959. And for Hurricane Gracie, we learned then not to stay during the hurricane. Okay, we learn every time. And then with Hurricane Hugo, we learned reverse laning and how we could expedite the evacuation along the coast and how important it is. And then from lessons learned to be prepared for Hurricane Ian. And it's just so impressive, and something from Hugo we learned too. The interior could be subject to extraordinary damage, but with the governor's leadership and all of the agencies who are here, and on the federal side, I just look forward to working in any way with our team, with Senator Tim Scott, Senator Lindsey Graham, and my fellow colleagues in the House, particularly Nancy Mace on the coast. She's really been really pleased with her being such a spokesperson for the health and safety of our state. And Godspeed to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. Also, I didn't mention that Senator Graham, Senator Scott, Congresswoman Mace, Congressman Tom Rice, and I know my office was in contact with Congressman Clyburn. We didn't get to speak to him, but he's a regular caller, and he'll be with us next week on another matter involving broadband. But we've got a great congressional team, but it really is a great team, and I think that the proof of that you've seen in the way this disaster, could have been a major disaster, was handled. Kim Stenson.
Thank you, sir. Kim Stenson, Director, State Emergency Management Division. Well, most of the state suffered some impacts from Hurricane Ian. The hardest hit areas were along the coast from Charleston up to Horry County. A more deliberate damage assessment began this morning to fully scope the damage of the hurricane, but I'll give you some preliminary damage figures right now. 6 electric cooperatives with some level of damage, at least 3 counties with infrastructure damage, 8 counties reporting residential damage, and 5 counties reporting some level of business damage. Again, this is only preliminary damage information, and this information will continue to change over the weekend and into next week. Once completed, damage assessments will help us determine if we may qualify for any additional federal assistance. Given the current situation, we expect all county emergency operations centers to transition back to steady state operations today, but with ongoing emphasis on damage assessment and cleanup operations. The State Emergency Operations Center will also transition from response to recovery operations later today as well. And just a couple of things citizens need to keep in mind, a couple of key points as the hurricane left our area. Check your home for damages and look for electrical system and sewer system damage. Take pictures of any damage you notice after the storm. This can be used when filing insurance claims and also potential disaster assistance. Check your home for mold. Report any damages through our South Carolina Emergency Manager app, and we'll make sure it gets to the right location. It's also important to continue to monitor local media. If disaster assistance becomes available, you'll be notified by local media. And local officials will also provide guidance on how to dispose of debris and damaged property through the news media as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Annette Edwards.
Thank you, Governor. As the Governor alluded to, I have good news. So looking back to Friday, just yesterday, statewide we had a record reported outages of 239,349. So almost 240,000 outages. As of noon today, we're just over 35,000. So that was a record restoration event. Just focusing on Dominion for a second, as of 6:20 a.m. this morning, Dominion had 83% of their outages already restored. As of 12 noon, their last recorded outage number is 11,114. The electric cooperatives have a remaining just over 12,000 as of 12 noon. Santee Cooper, 5,949. Duke, 5,754. So just please join me in saying thank you to the line men and women who worked literally around the clock to restore service. For those of you who are still without power, they are working hard, and they generally expect all but a handful to have service by sundown. Thank you.
By sundown, you say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Christy Hall, Department of Transportation.
Hello, I'm Christy Hall, Secretary of Transportation for South Carolina. As soon as the winds started to move out of the state late yesterday, our team mobilized into the area for our rapid response and recovery operations and actually began a lot of restoration work last night. Through this morning, we've cleared more than 1,100 downed trees from across the state roads in all areas of the state. We continue to work very hard down in Pawleys Island and Garden City with regards to debris removal and also removal of the sand on the roadways there. Those appear to be the hardest hit areas as far as roads go in the state. We anticipate anywhere from 2 to 4 days of work in those areas. Of course, we will work sun up to sundown and stay there and remain committed to that mission until it is completed. I also want to echo the Governor's comments and thank the first responders and the local governments for their efforts very early on to help get the roads cleared, get the trees out of the road, and help get the restoration of our network back to full strength. And last comment is just as we continue our recovery operations over the next several days, just be mindful if you happen to be in that area that we will have heavy equipment and men and women working in the area, and just watch out for their safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben Duncan, Officer of Resilience.
Ben Duncan, Chief Resilience Officer for the state of South Carolina. We are staying ready to assist citizens with unmet needs from the disaster. We have people who are ready to mobilize all over the state once enacted, and we're ready to do that immediately. We want to thank our volunteer organizations for helping and assisting before we can get there, but we're willing and ready to get there anytime we need it. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. Mike Leach, Department of Social Services.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon. Mike Leach, South Carolina Department of Social Services. We had 5 shelters open with a population of 121 clients in Charleston, Jasper, Orangeburg, and Williamsburg counties. At 12 noon, South Carolina currently has 1 general population shelter open in Charleston County with a total population of 9. This shelter probably will be closed around 4 o'clock today, and it takes a massive effort from many partners to make sure that sheltering occurs. So I just want to thank the American Red Cross, the Salvation Army, Clemson University Livestock, SC Able, Accessibility SC, Walton Options, Samaritan's Purse, many state agencies, and local state law enforcement. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Director Michael Wise, Department of Insurance.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon. Michael Wise, Acting Director of the Department of Insurance. Once it is safe, we encourage anyone who has damage to take whatever steps they can to secure their property and protect it from further damage. Take photos and keep receipts for any items needed to mitigate damage, such as tarps or rope. Beware of any individuals asking for upfront payments. Unfortunately, bad actors may try to take advantage by posing as contractors, so be sure to ask for identification, appropriate SCLLR licensing, and written documentation. If you do have damage from the storm, contact your insurance company and file your claim as soon as possible. If you cannot find your insurance company's phone number, you can visit our website or contact our Office of Consumer Services. We are here to help. We can answer insurance-related questions, help you navigate the claim process, and even address any complaints you may have regarding your insurance company. You can contact us by calling 803-737-6180 or toll-free at 1-800-768-3467 or visit our website at doi.sc.gov. For national flood insurance claims, contact your agent or carrier. For help finding your agent or carrier, call the National Flood Insurance Program at 877-336-2627 or visit floodsmart.gov to begin the claim process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for anyone?
Governor, you're headed down to Georgetown a little bit later today. What's your plan when you get down there?
We are going to tour by helicopter, go up to North Myrtle Beach, maybe Little River, go down to probably close to Charleston, where most of the hurricane, where most of the high wind and water was. And we'll also be meeting with some of the mayors in Georgetown who are going to be there. And we'll go look at the damage and see what we see. But we just want to assure the people that this team is, while we are somewhat demobilizing the National Guard as well as highway patrol, they're not needed at this point. And we've had, as far as we know, we've had no vandalism or no break-ins or those kinds of things, and no price gouging. But we are, some of the force that has been on duty at the location will be removed, other than the cleanup. But we want the citizens to know that this is not over, and we're still very much involved.
Are you taking a photographer with you on your helicopter tour?
I don't know. We're going to have somebody driving it. Because it ain't going to be me.
The Myrtle Beach area saw a few piers go down. Were those publicly owned piers, and who's going to be responsible for getting
I don't know the answer to that, Joe. I know the Pawleys Island Pier is owned by that development there. I'm not sure about Springmaid, or there was another one that was hit. Cherry Grove was hit. I don't. Anybody have the answer to that?
Sir, just
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one it is, but there's only one of them that's government owned, and the other two are privately owned.
Okay.
Which one's government owned?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It's not Pawleys Island. I know of that one,
It's
so
not that one?
that narrows it down a little bit.
Director Stinson, you mentioned some infrastructure damage in 3 counties. What kind of infrastructure are we talking about?
The piers were one of them, and there, I think there may be some lift station issues with, I think maybe Horry County, and so they just have to get out and look at it. There may be some road infrastructure issues as well, but right now it's very preliminary in terms of what we know until those teams get out. I mean, the storm just ended last night, and here it is just a little after noon, so they're working all those issues, and we'll get all that information. Some of it this weekend, but some of it will probably be early next week.
And by lift station, is that like a service plant or a service
Yes,
station? Okay.
right, yeah.
Let's say Secretary Hall. How about bridges?
We have no issues with any bridges across the state. We, from a road and bridge standpoint, we fared pretty well with the storm. really from the entire coastal area of South Carolina. The only issue that we've noted with regards to roads is really just seagrass and/or sand washing over. And of course, our team is out, along with the local government officials, trying to get all that cleared and removed so that the roads can be passable again. But it's not just what you see on the surface from a sand standpoint. So if you think about all the pipes underground that normally drain the water away, they're also filled with sand. So we'll have to vacuum and clean those out. So that's part of the reason why it will take a little additional time than just what you see on the surface. But no significant infrastructure damages from a road and bridge standpoint.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, going back into the damages, we may qualify for additional federal assistance. At what point would we qualify?
Mr. Stimson?
We'll look at it from two perspectives. One is assistance to individuals and families, and that generally is not a threshold type of decision that's made, but historically we'd probably have to have about 100 homes with either destroyed or major damage. So we'll look at that, and we're not hearing a lot of residential damage, but again, it's all preliminary right now, and we just need to take a look at it. Insurance also factors into that as well. And then on the infrastructure side is what we call public assistance. We have a state threshold of about $8.4 million that we would have to reach before we could get qualified for any assistance in that area. And then each individual county also has a threshold as well that they have to meet. So we'd have to meet those gates. And we should start to have a better feel for that here in the next week or so.
More questions?
I got this question for John Q. Initially, the forecast track had it going towards Hilton Head and Charleston, and then it jogged more to the north and to the east. Is there anything in terms of watches and warnings you would have done differently, or the National Weather Service would have done differently in future storms?
Yeah, of course, we're always assessing our performance and looking at ways we can improve. But if you look back over the past 10, even 5 years, the hurricane forecasting has improved dramatically. There's a lot less people being warned now than we were just 5 years ago for approaching hurricanes, which is certainly good news. One thing everyone, I think, needs to remember is we tend to focus on where landfall might be, not realizing that there's inherent error in that forecast track, known error that we experience all the time. So when you see that track, you have to realize that cone is a really good indicator of where that center might move to. And just because you're not in the direct path on a forecast doesn't mean that you're not going to be impacted. Another thing, too, is the impacts are often extend well beyond the center of the storm. So in this case, the landfall was just south of Georgetown, but we felt tropical storm force winds and had numerous trees down all the way into the Midlands. So just because you're not at that exact location of landfall doesn't mean you're not going to experience impact. So I think people need to be prepared, need to realize how the hurricane forecast works and how they might be impacted by any future storms.
More questions?
What area specifically do you think is the worst hit?
Right. Basically, the area that's from Charleston north to Horry County, and then probably that next tier of counties after that. The down in the southern sector with Beaufort and Colleton and Jasper, they received very little damage.
Any more questions? Okay. Thank you very much.